Several years ago, Dave and I visited the home of Corrie Ten Boom in the Netherlands. This is the very home where Corrie and her family hid many Jews to escape from the Nazis in World War II. As we walked through the home and then the neighborhood, I reflected on the crisis this family endured and suffered. But what struck me most was the gratitude Corrie expressed throughout the remainder of her life for the opportunity to be used by God. Corrie said, "If you look at the world, you'll be distressed. If you look within, you'll be depressed. But if you look at Christ, you'll be at rest." If you haven't read her story as recounted in her book, The Hiding Place, it's a thrilling read with the inspiration that we need for this present day. Corrie embodies the secret to peaceful living that we find in Philippians 4:6-8. It says, "Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus." And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Sounds a bit crazy in these times, right? Thinking back over this year, expressing gratitude may not be the first thing that comes to your mind. It's probably something more like frustration, anxiety, concern, worry, or even depression and fear. So much changed in 2020 that destroyed our sense of normalcy. But if you read over those verses again slowly, you'll discover there's a formula here for expressing gratitude in the crisis. And it's something Corrie Ten Boom learned and spoke about often, and one we would be wise to adopt right now. Here's the first step. Stop worrying. Well, I know that's easier said than done, but think about the energy you spend worrying. What positive outcome has it accomplished? Well, worrying has kept me awake at night, which means I'm tired and irritable the next day. Well, that's not positive. Worrying accepts negative inputs instead of screening them out, and it increases my worry. When I look at the world, listen to the news, and spend too much time on social media, my anxiety levels increase. Step number 2 is pray about everything. Really? Everything? When was the last time you found yourself in a conundrum, perplexed, and then stopped to pray? Praying is simply having a conversation with God. And if I've learned anything through our marriage crisis, it's that God cares about the details, the little stuff we think He's too busy to mess with. Satan, our enemy, knows God cares about everything, which is why he does what he can to distract us. The enemy of our soul's goal is to hack our minds, hearts, and emotions from God's truth. If he can get us to believe just for one moment that God could care less about our mess, Satan wins the skirmish, but he never wins the battle. God told us to talk with Him about all the stuff that's on our minds. We're to talk with Him about anything and keep talking until your stress levels decrease. If you're driving in a car alone, talk out loud. If you're on a walk, have a conversation with God. Or, if you're like I am, you prefer to journal. Great. Then do so until you can't write anymore. Pour it out. Just this week, I wrestled through an issue by journaling. You see, God cares about all the stuff on your mind, every bit of it. Don't fall for that old lie that He's too busy to deal with something as insignificant as your fears. They aren't insignificant to God. Why else would He say He tracks our sorrows and collects our tears in Psalm 56? The third step, thank God. Here's that part about expressing gratitude in the crisis. You see, gratitude changes our minds and heart because we stop focusing on what is around us or within us. Instead, we look up to see what God has done in our life. So one way to do this is to start naming the things around you that you take for granted. Stuff like indoor plumbing, heat in your home, food to eat, or clothes to wear. Look around you at the world He created. Celebrate the birds and animals and trees, even the seasons. Marvel at the variety in nature. As you look at these things, your heart lightens. At first it might feel awkward and maybe even a little silly, but don't give up. Keep naming things you're grateful for. Even if you don't think you have anything to be grateful for, this exercise opens your mind to new possibilities. When Dave and I were walking through the darkest days of his recovery from pornography addiction and my depression, this exercise helped me move a bit towards center. It felt like a small movement, but over time it created a necessary mental shift. I started with 3 things a day. They could be anything at all. This isn't a difficult formula at first glance. However, walking through this in a crisis means you decide to be grateful. Let me say that again. You decide to be grateful. In this season, I choose to express gratitude no matter what is going on in the world. I thought I'd give you a few of the gratitude and the crisis points on my list. The global shutdown allowed Dave and me to develop our business dreams. Being an entrepreneur allowed us to be with my mom in her last days on this earth without concern about running out of paid time off. Video chat technology allowed us to stay connected with our children and grandchildren. The internet provided the avenue to connect with friends and family in other countries, even though we couldn't leave our country. The healing journey that Dave and I began over 13 years ago allows us to be together now 24/7 and actually enjoy it. We have more time to just be with friends and family when the opportunity arises. We've told our story of God's redemption to millions, thanks to Focus on the Family. Life slowed down. Dave and I started walking together daily on May 10th, 2020. 5-10-20 is a fun number, and we haven't missed a day yet. Our daily walks provide time to talk and enjoy being outside together exploring. Are there things going on in the world that I don't appreciate? Absolutely. But I have a choice. I can choose, like Corrie Ten Boom, to help others, focus on Jesus, and be at rest. Or I can choose to focus on the crisis and get hacked. Each day I have to make the same choice, and so do you. Express gratitude in the crisis today. Keep pushing into gratitude until you experience peace. It's God's promise to you and me. He said he'd give us peace the world can't understand, and that's my choice today. As my shirt says, I choose to show up filled up during this season by clinging to Jesus, staying centered in his word, the Bible, and filling up with his presence and peace. Well, what's your choice? Do you need a little help? Someone to hide you in safety and prepare you to emerge stronger in the face of the enemy? I'm here for you. Just hop on over to KirstenDSamuel.com. Kirsten is spelled Kirsten. D is in Diane. Samuel, Samuel.com. And click that big blue button. Let's talk. You can choose gratitude in the crisis.